So we have a nice group of people here from all kinds of continents: the United States, Colombia, India, Philippines, Brazil. Quite a few different locations. And so the goal for today's meeting is not so much to explain how X-Culture works per se, but rather give you a little bit more of a kind of behind the scenes look on the operations of this company. And more importantly, share with you the challenges we've encountered, and then explain what kind of help and input from you students we seek. So there are a bunch of things that we need your help with. And so we wanted to provide you more sort of instructions on what specifically we would like you to help us with. And so here with me here are several of our administrative team members. There are more, but we have 5 here. So I'm Vas Taras. I manage primarily the university track. And then we have Professor Leilani Baumenis from Florida. So she's responsible for the academy track. So if any of you here in the attendance are non-university X-Culture participants, she's your boss. So she's your teacher, mentor, supervisor, administrator, helper. Yes. So everything else. Then we also have Rafael Tamashiro. So Rafael is our, so he's in Brazil, and he's our basically project administrator, I guess the operations manager. So he's the one who does all of the sort of, work related to setting up the surveys, setting up the exams, checking all the documentations. So basically all the everyday operations falls on Rafael's shoulders. And then we have Annette Nakamiya. So she is in Kenya, and she's managing the team of the X-Culture ambassadors. And so that's, she does all kinds of other work, but one thing that she does, so we have a group of people around the planet whose job is to represent X-Culture, both, for sort of promotion purposes, but also to be the local representatives in wherever they are. And so Annette is managing that team. And then we have Tejas and Leon. So Tejas, remind me what country you're in again?
I'm from India.
Which one?
India,
right? And Leon is in South Africa. And so they do all kinds of cool things. In fact, some things I didn't even know about that they do. And so like, for example, they organize all these additional programs for the kids. They manage the social media. And by additional programs, they have like some really cool things. Like, for example, they do these cooking shows. So where one person prepares a national food in front of a camera, and then a bunch of us are sort of around the world watching, and some of us even trying to cook the same food. So we get the ingredients list in advance. And so obviously it never worked the same way as for the host, but as we cook the food, we also talked about the country and culture and, get to know each other. And then they also now do like the art show, and they do the pen pal program. And then I even hear that you wanted to do like the athletics program this year, like somebody will be doing exercises, and then the international team will be doing them as well at home, and some sort of like a running club. So all kinds of interesting, cool activities.
Virtual tour, don't forget the virtual tour.
Yeah, we've done quite a few of those, some exotic places. Again, you learn a lot about the countries. So I had no idea. And so Tejas and Leon, even though just a few, not even years ago, a few semesters ago, they were students in the program, but so they can do, not only can, but they volunteered to do more. And so slowly, they assumed more and more responsibilities, and now are full-fledged members of this administrative team. And so in addition to school and other obligations they have in life, they also help us manage this program. Did I miss anything? Any interesting facts that we need to say about any of the people?
Well, we started out very organically, so I think that that's important to learn. I guess I've been on, let's say, going on the 3rd semester. I think Raphael actually has been more active with Academy longer than I have, because Raphael, you were with the Voss, Dr. Voss and Yevgeny, and I was running another program. But what I wanted to convey was what we have currently is actually an evolution of the experiences that we've had in the past. And primarily our strategy was to create engagement and to create opportunities for students to have cultural experience that would heighten retention. So our initial perception or our initial strategy was that we have enough students registering. What we don't have is a high enough retention. And we actually still have that dilemma. I think out of 100%, our retention is perhaps 25% once they register. So that's something that we're still working on. I believe that has been incrementally increasing as we're creating engagement in these non-mandatory activities, such as the cooking show, the virtual tours, the sport program, the art program. But at the same time, we still have a challenge trying to encourage students once they've registered. We have a challenge getting them to stay. So that's, I think, one of our main problems.
Yeah. So let me maybe give the big picture first. So for all of the students, since this is the first webinar of the week, so let me share your screen and show you some things that are not unique to Xculture, but something that you need to know. So as you know, there is a resource page that you all have access to. And here on the resource page, you have the list of this semester's partners. There are a total of 11 companies. And so Xculture Academy is one of them. And so when you click on the link here, you can see a brief, like a document that describes what we do, who we are, where we came from, and then the list of questions that we need your help with. And so you have one of these documents for each of the companies. And so today we'll talk a little bit about the Xculture Academy. And so one thing I need to explain sort of is the structure of Xculture. So this may be confusing for someone who starts, who encounters Xculture first. So historically, we worked only or started working only with university students. So our main, and still remains the main population, is universities. So for example, this semester we have close to 6,000 people. They come from something like 180 universities in something like 46 countries. And so that's our main, so to speak, product. So it is professors from all around the world who teach international business, cross-cultural management, and related courses. And we come together and put our students in global virtual teams. And by sort of putting them in those teams and asking them to work in international teams on a project, we allow them or prompt them to experience in real life what we are trying to teach them in the classroom. So when I tell them that working with Ukrainians or Brazilians or Americans is different than working, for example, with, I don't know, Indians or Kenyans, my students don't have to sort of just believe me. They work with people from all of these countries. And so they can experience all those challenges, but also learn the best practices of working with people from different countries firsthand. And then also another sort of side of the project is the business consulting. So we have up to 10, sometimes even more companies in a given semester that present real life challenges. And so our students then essentially serve as consultants. Now, that's the main product. It's been around for 12 years. It works very well. We see more and more applications every semester, in fact, more than we can handle. And so that's the university students. Today, we are talking about what we call the Xculture Academy, and that's the sort of track or wing of Xculture that is for non-university students. It came about when first friends of Xculture participants started coming to us and saying that they would like to participate in Xculture, but they're not students. And so can I enroll individually? Can I still do this program? Because I think I wanted to have it on my resume. I will be applying for a job promotion or maybe a new job. And so maybe that experience on my resume will increase my chances. And so at some point we started letting the professionals participate. We call them professionals. But then right around that time, professors who participate in Xculture with their university students started telling us that they have children, teenagers, 16, 17, 18, 15 years old. And so they want their children to participate in the project as well. And so for a long time, we had been saying that, no, it's for university students, primarily business students and BA students, so no children. But then we thought, hey, maybe we should try it. And so we did, and we experimented with ages 9 and older, eventually settled for 14 and older. And so those are participants just like you, just like university students. They do the same program, but they are younger. And so obviously the teams are matched by age, like children who are 15-year-olds, they are with 15-year-olds, 16-year-olds with 16-year-olds, and so on and so on. And so the difference also is that unlike the university students, like unlike you, the non-student participants have to complete 4 weeks of pre-project training. So we have 1 week, we basically tell them about the project itself so that they know where things are, deadlines, how the project operates. Then next week, it's about within team sort of interpersonal issues, teamwork, communication, conflict management, scheduling meetings, all kinds of things that are related to interpersonal relationships in teams. Then week 3, that's the technical stuff. So how to use Dropbox, Google Docs, Slack, whatever tools may need to be used for online collaboration. And then week 4, international business. So we condensed a university course to essentially a 1-week crash course. And so they complete that short version of the international business course so that they have some basic understanding of international business. You university students, you don't have to do that. Presumably you received that kind of training at the university and you are now receiving it in your course. Like my students are in an international business course, so they get that as part of the course anyway. But the non-students, teenagers and professionals, we provide the training. At the same time, we also use the training as a selection tool. So there are 4 weekly tests, and so the students must pass all 4 tests in order to advance and be placed on a team. Again, with the university students, the logic is that for you, for most of you, it is part of your course. So you will participate, because if you don't, you'll get a failing grade, failing mark for your course. Right. But the non-student participants, they do it on their own initiative. So they enroll individually. It's not part of a course. And so we are worried that some of them may think it's a great idea, and so they enroll, but then they're too busy at work or too busy at school or just lose interest. And then the whole team suffers. So we don't want people, even if they pay us, we don't want those people in the project because one bad apple, so to speak, spoils the whole team. And so therefore we have those 4 weeks of training, but also during that time, we observe if people would be sort of diligent, disciplined, motivated enough to perform week after week after week. And only if they do, only then we accept them to the program. Only then we say, now you can pay your registration fee, and only then we place them on teams. And so that's an important thing. So when Dr. Balmani said that we lose about 75% of those who applied, well, first, it's natural. So any webinar you have ever registered, including by like Harvard, Stanford, most people who register never show up. So at the time when they saw the invitation, oh, that's cool, I want to go learn something new. But then the time comes to actually go to the webinar and people are busy, they forget, who knows. So same thing here. But also a substantial portion of people we lose are people who applied but didn't show that level of commitment, performance, language fluency, knowledge that is required to complete the project successfully. And so we basically tell them, try again next semester, because your team will not be happy with you. And so we don't want, if we were selling like books, for example, I don't care if you read my book. As long as you pay me, I'll send you the book. That's it. Here, we want you not only to sort of buy the product, but also use it. Another big difference is the financial side, and we'll talk more about it later. But so the university students, if you are a university student, most of you don't pay. So the deal is that the university pays a $250 fee for the whole group, regardless of how many students are in the group. Starting last semester, we now allow the professors to ask students instead pay $15. So some of you may be paying that $15 fee. And that the reason for that is that many universities want you, the students, to participate, but they, even if they have the money, there is no easy way for them to make a payment to an outside organization. And so they kind of offload it onto the students. But even those few of you who are paying personally, you're paying only $15, that's it. And so for most of you, the university pays, again, like if it's a class, usually 30, 40 students, $250 per whole class. So we get something like $5 per student. And so that's just enough to keep our basic operating expenses covered. And then there are many universities that don't pay at all. So they say, we can't, we don't have the money, the banking system doesn't allow us to pay. So the university program, it's a non-commercial project. We do raise a couple $1,000s a semester, but that's just to cover some of the basic expenses. The academy track, so non-university track, that one, unfortunately, we have to charge money, because The university students, so those of you who came here as part of your university course, you come with a professor. And so the deal is that that professor helps us run the project. So even if we don't get any money from the school, we still get the professor who helps us manage the project. So it's a partnership of professors. It's not a business, it's not a company. We don't provide a service. We come together, your professor, as a professor, Dr. Baumanis as a professor, and we all try to provide a good experience to our students. So that's how it's set up. So it's not meant to make any money, and we don't really need that money because all the professors help, for free. So we need a little bit just to pay for the website, maybe pay for some office expenses, but nothing big. So now the non-university track is tricky because the students come and enroll individually. So there are no teachers, no managers who will sort of manage you. So we have to do it ourselves. We have to hire Raphael, Tejas, Leon, Annette, more people who will be managing and helping us with the program. And so hire is a strong word. Hire it would have been if we paid them real salary. So unfortunately, all of them work basically out of goodness of their heart. And so even if we give them sometimes like a small honorarium, that's like $100 at the end of the semester. So that's more like a little thank you gift. But we do need to accumulate some expenses, both for advertising the project, but also to manage, to get at least some staff to manage it. And so that's where we run into some problems. So one, we cannot offer it for free, not only because we need the resources, but also, to be honest, the small fee that we charge is sort of a selection tool in and of itself. So the fee is $256 per person for the whole semester, 4 weeks of training, 8 weeks of practical phase, and then another 4 weeks of reflection, presentations, debriefing and stuff like that. So that comes up to about what, like $20, $30 a month. But then we also say that if you cannot pay, if you come from a developing country, poor family, we are fine with that. We'll give you a stipend of $200. You only have to pay $56 for the whole project. So that's like $10 a month, like really nothing. And so again, we charge that both because we do need the resources, but also as a selection tool. The logic is that if the person is not able to pay even $10 a month, maybe the person is not interested enough, maybe the person just wants to try it, and we cannot afford it because if the person enrolls and doesn't participate, the whole team suffers, remember? So we must be very selective here. And so, yes, and today we'll talk a little bit about some of the challenges we ran into. We'll share with you how we do the advertisement, how we recruit the people, and then also what works, what doesn't, what statistics we get, and then what kind of help we need from you. So everyone, I don't know, anything on the big picture, sort of how we are structured, anything that I missed before we get into the details, how we do the recruitment and things like that? Dr. B, your microphone is muted, I think.
So hello, everybody. Let's talk about recruitment. Because it does start from there, right? Unless we have students who come to us, there's no one to teach.
Yeah, maybe so. Let's do one more thing before, and then we talk about recruitment. I'll just show you all of the questions that we have for you, and then we'll talk about them one by one, so you have sort of a general task. Actually, let me open the PDF file, so this way it will be easier for you to see. So we need, so first, the file talks about the project and more or less what I just explained to you, how we recruit and things like that. But we need several things from you. One, we would like you to start with market analysis. So we would like you to analyze the industry, see who the competitors are. We don't know of any project that is like Xculture. So there are many online courses. There are many online training books and stuff like that, but we are not aware of any course for teenagers and professionals that are team-based, last a whole semester, and are sort of international collaboration / consulting. But maybe you can find some, or maybe you think the competitors are not exactly companies like ourselves, but maybe some other programs or projects that parents enroll their children in, or bosses enroll their employees in. And so we want you to find some sort of list of competitors and tell us names, website addresses, what they do, and then analyze our strengths and weaknesses compared to theirs. So we want to know whom we compete with. And so maybe you can find some of those examples. And so then based on your market research, so in addition to market research, we also would like you to conduct your own research. So ideally, we would like you to maybe interview a couple of friends, or maybe a couple of parents, or maybe even a couple of teachers or school principals, or maybe managers. and ask them, are they ever enrolling in some additional online courses? If they do, what kind of courses they take? Would they consider something like Xculture? Why or why not? If they would like to enroll in Xculture, how much are they willing to pay? What do they think about the program? What would make the program more attractive to them? So we have a bunch of questions here that we suggest you ask, but you obviously can adjust the list. But by talking to a couple of friends and then comparing your notes with the rest of the team, it will give you a much better understanding of sort of basically the market, the industry, but also how we compare it to the rest, where our flaws are, weaknesses, and problems. And then once you've conducted the market analysis, we would like you to think about then who are our customers? I mean, is it some specific geographic region? Maybe we should focus on some countries, or maybe it's a different segment, of the market. So this time, as I said, we look at teenagers ages 14 to 17 and employees of companies that seek that international experience and business consulting experience. But maybe we're missing something. Maybe there is a more narrow market that we need to focus on, or maybe there is a whole different population that might be interested in a project like this. Then marketing, and we'll talk about that. So we want your help with marketing. So, and by marketing, I mean recruitment. So this semester we have about 1,000 people enrolled. Last semester we had a little bit more. And the reason there are fewer, we do advertisement mainly on online, Facebook, Instagram, and they keep changing their algorithm. And so they changed it in the middle of our recruitment campaign, and it completely messed up all our statistics. So we had literally to cut our advertisement short because the new algorithm that went into the effect a few weeks ago, it's like didn't work for us at all. So we went from about, well, we'll give you statistics later, but like everything plummeted dramatically. On top of that, this semester, Instagram and Facebook, as of August 23rd, they stopped showing ads to users younger than 18. And that's our population, main population. So we still can advertise to employees and parents, but most of our applications came from pre-college teens, like age 17 or so. And so that population is not even accessible anymore. So we'll need your help with marketing, and we'll talk about different specific questions that we have for you. And finally, we have some questions in terms of management, like, what's the best entry mode? What are the best partners? What is the best pricing? Raphael also added a question, and we'll probably add it to the brief, payments. It's always a hassle receiving payments from 100 countries or so. From some countries, it's easy. They just enter the credit card number, paid, done. From others, it's such a big challenge. I mean, it literally costs us more in our labor cost to receive the payment than the amount of money we are receiving. And so, Dr. B, can you talk a little bit about recruitment and marketing so that students know what we're doing? And while we're talking about that, if you have any questions, please do put them in Q&A. We will answer them as we move along.
Yes. Okay, so very quickly, and thank you for that, Dr. Boss, because now you have students, you now have a clear understanding of where we are market-wise, who our target markets are, and how we reach them. Now, he just told you that the problem that we're going to have forthcoming is that our access to the teenagers are no longer viable. So as of the 23rd of August.
Facebook and Instagram. So,
right.
And we haven't really tried other platforms. We experimented a little bit with Facebook, Google, and Snapchat, but only like very little, like spend only like $100 on each just to see how it works. It wasn't as good as Instagram and Facebook, so we didn't push it. Now it looks like we'll have to go back to those other platforms and see how they work.
But historically, 90% of our registrants who are not connected with Xculture at all, we've all reached them via Instagram. Correct? Would you agree with that, Dr. Voss?
Yes. And again, historically, when we started, 4 years ago or something like that, we thought we would be working with schools. So the university track, we all work with professors. And so professors join Xculture and enroll you, the students, as part of their course. We thought we would do the same thing with the school, and it didn't work. So we went, we had, I think, 30-something local ambassadors who went school to school talking about Xculture. And it was very disheartening because the feedback was always very positive. So we would hear like, oh, the teachers were so amazed. The principals were so happy. The problem is that schools don't have the freedom to change their curriculum. So they can only, do things that they need to do. And so the only way they could add Xculture is essentially maybe some sort of an after-school club, which many schools did. But then at many schools, we literally got situations where parents would send us a letter saying, I'm frustrated. I really want my child to participate in it. It seems like the way the discussion is going, the school will not be ready anytime soon. So can my child enroll individually? And so that's when we started advertising directly to parents, to families, basically placing ads on Facebook. And all of a sudden now we have like 95% of all applications, they come individually from individual enrollments, not from schools. And yes, you're correct. Almost all of them come from Facebook.
So now, but here's the challenge with that. Okay. So now that we don't have access via Instagram, that's going to dry up for us. Now, starting December of 2020, Annette actually was one of the first people who came to interview with me about recreating what Dr. Voss had called the regional ambassadors, right? That we had people who were interested. I think it was Susan and Annette who were interested from Kenya in starting their own independent recruiting program. And then as time went on, and this is just since December of 2020, more and more people became interested in coming on and being a regional representative. We call them brand ambassadors. And now we're up to about 20 people. Now, we don't recruit for brand ambassadors because I think how we differentiate ourselves as brand ambassadors from the original version that Dr. Voss talked about is that we wait for participants to come to us. We want to make sure that these new brand ambassador or potential brand ambassadors have gone through the program, they understand the program, and they basically drank the Kool-Aid, that they believe in the value of X culture, specifically X Culture Academy. So, and as we've grown organically, like I said, we're up to 20. And also the compensation portfolio or the compensation strategy for that, the pay model, is that every student that they bring in, they get a commission. So everybody's paid on a commission-based basis. If they don't bring any new students in, they don't get compensated, right? And it's based on how much that student pays. So if they recruit a student who requires a stipend and they only pay $56, they're only going to get a portion of that student's tuition. So now back to our original core value. Dr. Voss and I do this as volunteer work. Most of our students who are in leadership positions, so they're coaches or are brand ambassadors, right? Nobody's getting paid. So unless there's a delivery. So we all do this for values other than compensation. We do it because we love it. Now, when you work on our project, I want you to think that really our goal is to create a world that's more peaceful via teaching people how to be culturally intelligent. So the whole core value of X Culture Academy is to teach young people as young as possible how to be understanding culturally, how to reach out to other people in other countries, and to learn to understand each other. That's why we all do it. The compensation, if there is compensation, is just the icing on the cake. Okay, so we all do this for so much more than just the money. Now, when you go back to the way that we advertise, right? So the brand ambassadors do it as a regional representative in their own countries. They know how to reach their markets. They know who to talk to. They can speak to potential students or the parents of the students or the teachers of the students in their native language. So this is a great model. However, our success rate has not been very good. Okay, so those are our two marketing challenges. One, for us to reach our young people, Instagram is no longer going to be viable. So we have to find a new way to do it. And two, because our regional brand ambassadors, it's a new program, they still have to, let's say, embed themselves into their community and get brand recognition in order for people to start to really believe in the product. Yeah. So, and I want to ask my team, so Raphael
Actually, so since we have very limited time, can I get more kind of into business? And so the team, you guys, you don't know what I'm going to be saying now. So it may be something of interest to you because since I've been managing the advertisement. So my apology for talking and being a bad boss here, but there are specific things I need to say. Only I know that stuff. So I'll say it, and I have very specific questions that I need answered. So we did have the orientation where we talked about how wonderful our program is. So the students have the records of that, but now I want to get right to business. So advertisement online. We primarily ran ads on Facebook and Instagram. We experimented with probably about 200 different ads. So we tried all kinds of combinations of long videos, short videos, pictures, and text. After a lot of experimentation with different focus groups, so we can, as you know, in Facebook, you can select the populations. So we tried different age groups, different countries. So the very first problem we ran into was that Facebook sort of tries to sell on your behalf as much product as possible. And so they show ads to the people who will give you clicks the cheapest. And so what happened when we started doing it in the very beginning, we would say, okay, we want people from these countries of this age. And then, you know, like $200 later, we check the statistics, and all of those ads were shown to someone, for example, in Kenya. Like literally, like all of them went into Kenya, and like what's going on? Turns out the demand for people from Kenya, as you know, eyes on, you know, attention, is the lowest. So we can get like, you know, 1 million views for $10. But they would show us the population that is, you know, not much of interest to us, or at least not the only one. So then we would have to stratify it. And so we would say, okay, we want ads to be shown, you know, for this many dollars in this city, for this many in this city. So we have to be very, very specific, because otherwise Facebook routes all the traffic to basically where you can get the most views, the cheapest. And we don't need that, because we need the whole planet. It's an international project. And then also there are all kinds of other restrictions that we have. Like, for example, you know, not everyone who clicks on our ad basically buys eventually the program or enrolls in the program. So over time, we did learn how to do it right. We worked with a couple of companies. We worked on our own. We tested a bunch of things. And so for about 2 years, we had something like $2, $2.50 return on investment in ads for every dollar we invest in ads. So basically, for every $10,000 we spend on ads, we would get approximately $25,000 in revenue. Or I mean, for every 1,000, we get 2,500 in revenue. And so that actually looked very promising. A few months ago, I was very confident, and I would think, you know what, I'll just spend all my money on ads. I'll literally put all the money I have. I know I'm going to get 2.5 times more back. And so, you know, like when advertisers asked me, so what's your budget? I said, it's a stupid question. My budget is $10 million, $25 billion. I mean, as long as you give me a higher return on investment, I'll spend everything I have and I'll borrow on top of that. So show me the statistics. And if your return on investment is low, I don't want to spend anything. Like, I don't have any budget. The problem is, as I said, everything changed a few months ago when Facebook, when Apple started, you know, acting up and, you know, stopping showing ads to some people, changing the whole, you know, system. And then Facebook was you know, under fire for all kinds of, you know, practices, questionable practices they had. And so this semester, it looks like we went down from about $2.50 to something like $1.6. We don't have the exact figure until everybody goes through the selection process and pays the registration fee. But it looks like we will still be in a positive territory, but it looks like we'll get barely a little bit more over what we spend on the ads. So hopefully there will be a little sort of, let's call it profit or gross income that we can use to pay for our expenses. But at some point, it almost looked like we had to stop, because the statistics became so bad on the same ads that literally just looked like for every dollar we spend, we're going to get at most 50 cents back. And at that point, I said, you know what, instead of spending an additional $20,000, $30,000 as I was planning to, let's just stop here, because we will be losing money. And so that's one problem. So second sort of interest and observation. We tried every possible creative ad. As I said, we tried long videos, short videos. You know, some of our, you know, team members came up with the designs. And almost discouragingly enough, the only thing that really worked and worked best was just stupid white text on blue screen. Like, it's literally like blue square with the text. And it's, you have like this carousel where you have like 6 or 7 pictures. So, you know, like all the creative things with beautiful photos of, you know, children studying or people going to college, or, you know, professionals getting hired, like none of that worked as well as just simply text on blue square. That's it. So I don't know. I mean, maybe we should try something new, but I'm just telling you guys that sometimes it's a little counterintuitive. I thought, you know, we had much better ads, but they didn't show us the statistics. The beauty of Facebook and Instagram is that you see statistics live. So you can spend like $5 and get immediately some results, and you would know what's going on. Although they have what they call a learning phase. Like the first 2 days, they're, you know, AI thinks about, you know, like tries different things. And then presumably over time that the statistics should improve. But again, it almost looks like they're cheating. So they would give you better statistics for the first few days, and then it gets worse again. It almost looks like once they realize that you start paying constantly, they can then get away with showing you ads to people who are not buying, because it's always like, very bad the first 2 days, then very good for like about a week, and then it slowly goes down over time. And so it almost seems like they're just after your money and not really in your corner trying to help you recruit, people.
Right.
So
right.
that's where we are with this. And so I have a few very specific questions. And again, people on the team here, let me know if I'm missing something, because there are a few very specific areas where I think we need help. And so I specifically put those questions here because in the past, when we asked students to help us, they would give us stuff that we don't need. Like they would say, we think the best market is Germany, and they would give me like a whole description of Germany, like religion, political system, economic system. I don't care about that. I know that, and that's not relevant to you. When I would ask them, so how should we advertise? They would tell me you should try Snapchat, or you should try Facebook or YouTube. It's not useful. Of course, we thought about that. It's not something, like it's not new. So if you tell us advertise on social media, that's a useless advice. We don't need that. We know that. The question is how and where exactly. And so what we need from you is this. So one thing, we think there may be some opportunity with influencers. So we think we may be able to get some good applications from placing our ads either in the videos of influencers, or maybe asking them, paying them perhaps, to talk about us in their whatever content they produce. But we cannot find good influencers who talk about maybe education for kids, or maybe international business. Or maybe we shouldn't be looking for influencers who are educators. Maybe it should be just someone who does some fun stuff with cats, maybe, or I don't know, makeup or something that maybe our potential users are watching them. So I don't know who they might be, but we would like your help here. And we not
maybe
yes, go ahead.
Maybe we can even contact teenagers influencers to actually participate and promote while participating.
Yeah, and again, remember that at this time, at least, we think we should be advertising to parents of teenagers, maybe to older teenagers, like of age 16 and older, maybe managers and maybe employees. But who are those people watching online? Who are the influencers that have influence on them? That we don't know. And so we would like, if you can think of anyone, give us the name, contact, and ideally do research on them. Figure out what kind of people are watching them, and more importantly, what are the conditions of placing ads with them? Like, do they have a fee? If so, how much? Do they? Yeah. So we need that information, because and for you, by the way, that would be a good exercise. I mean, everybody knows that you can advertise with influencers, but does anyone know how much it costs? Like, I have no idea.
I just want to interfere with you, Dr. Voss. Okay. So guys, this is really important to us. Okay. Because like Raphael and I are working with an influencer right now. And we want you to identify specifically who their target audience is. Because if you guys get somebody who's a rap star and, other people who are not interested in education are watching them, that doesn't do us any good, right? So it's very important that you identify who is the target audience of this influencer, right? And then once you identify who the target audience of this influencer is, how much does it cost for them to advertise this? Those are really two important questions here.
And ideally, you'll find someone, because, we are doing a good thing here. So we know that students who participate in cultural intelligence improves, prejudice goes down. They're much more interested in working with people from other cultures. Many of them love it so much that they participate again and again. So we know we have a good, important program that not only sort of does, helps us, whatever we're trying to achieve, but it makes the world a better place. And so maybe you can even find some influencers who believe in our cause so much that they will want to do a whole program about us for free. And maybe you will, or if they do it for, with money, maybe even go ahead and try to contact them and see how it works, like on our behalf. So literally just reach out to them, do your research, see what they say.
Right. And be specific about who they are in your own countries. Like if you are in Brazil, don't try to reach out to somebody in Argentina, because we're trying to reach the country's population. So we want to reach your students. So look around in your community.
Although there are some popular people with a global audience, like, I don't know, SciShow, for example, or Smarter Every Day, or Veritasium, So those are some of the shows that I watch, and I assume people who seek education do. So yeah, they have global audience. So maybe if you know something about them, let us know. Second, we would like to learn more about online communities, groups, and chat rooms that might be, involving people who potentially can participate in X-Culture. So everybody talks about, for example, oh, X-Culture is a beautiful program, wonderful program for homeschooled children. So they, have a little bit more time. They perhaps want to have this online, interaction with their peers. By all means, I believe that that's definitely the case. But how do we reach those parents? Like, do they have like some sort of, like chat rooms or some sort of, groups on Facebook where they hang out? And so if you identify those places or ways we can reach them, again, tell us what's the conditions. Like, can anyone join that group? Can we place paid advertisement there? Like, how exactly would it work? Same thing with mailing lists. So maybe there is some sort of like a mailing list, email list, or some other way where we can, reach those people. And if so, what's the sort of, the name of the mailing list? How do we place an ad there? If there is an administrator who manages that, how do we reach him? Is there some sort of an ad? Like, for example, the only ads we do for the university track is a mailing list of the Academy of International Business. That's it. So I send 2 emails a year, and that's all I do. So we don't advertise any other way. But the Academy of International Business, the members are basically all professors on this planet who teach international business, or at least all serious professors.
Right.
So that one email reaches the whole community. Like, it's a cheap, not cheap, it's free. Like, it's free. I'm a member of the Academy too. So I can, we have a mailing list, and I can place an ad. And that one email reaches 100% of potential participants, professors, and nobody else. So it doesn't bother anyone else. Right. Maybe there is something like that for school teachers or parents or, homeschool parents.
Not only that, but Vas, I think that the reason why we're so successful with AIB is because you and I are both active members of AIB, and we network with our colleagues normally. Yeah. So that's another thing.
From conferences, yep.
Yes, exactly. Are you, as a representative of X-Culture, for example, actively participating in organizations that can be a part of your mailing list? So that's another question is, so for example, our brand ambassadors, should they belong to organizations that reach out to students the way that Dr. Vas and I do reach out to faculty, for example? Are there parents who would do that on a regular basis because they're a part of a parent group? So things like that would be interesting.
Yeah. Next one, we're very interested in specialized magazines, newsletters, blogs, podcasts, or other promotional channels. Like, for example, we know that there are some magazines or journals for school principals in some countries. We suspect that there may be some specialized magazines that deal with international business issues. So maybe there are some podcasts or blogs that deal with these things. And so, again, we would be interested in advertising through those channels. But then again, we need to identify those channels and then find out how much it costs to place ads there. If there is a fee, how does it work? Who do we talk to? And again, feel free to reach out to the administrators or editors of those journals, newsletters, podcasts, and check with them. So ask them if they would be interested in placing an ad or maybe doing a story about something like X-Culture. And so if they say, yes, then great, let us know, we will talk to them. And maybe they'll say, oh, no, we don't do that. Well, great, again, we learned something new and we know that it's a sort of dead end and we don't need to pursue that one. Finally, I call it alternative social media, but I here mean other than Facebook and Instagram. So we didn't really try others. We tried Snapchat like for a little while, it didn't work. We tried LinkedIn, it didn't work. But again, we spent only like $100 and it was an absolute zero each time. Like, we didn't get a single application through Instagram, through Snapchat, through YouTube, and through Google. Like, it was not bad, it was just like absolute zero. And so we don't know if we did something wrong or there is, maybe those are not the best methods for us, or maybe it should be something else. But again, if you know, and if you can, identify more promising channels, let us know how to do it. Basically, again, don't tell me just, advertise on YouTube. Suggest specific steps, maybe specific ads, specific maybe even script for the actual ad, what it might look like. So because we don't know that, that's something we don't know and we don't really know. And then obviously we want your help with the message. Maybe we position ourselves not right. So maybe we should promote not as gain experience so you have a better chance of getting into college or getting a job. Maybe the message should be something else. And we would be very interested in also getting your, samples of promotional materials. Try to design the ad maybe for the specific country that you know, or maybe a script for a short video, or maybe marketing brochure. It doesn't have to be, fancy schmancy. It can be something, handwritten, but something that we can recognize the idea and perhaps build upon it. So now a very special request that one, yeah, go ahead.
One more thing, when we go back to when you guys do reach out to people, right? You might get an opportunity for interviews or for speaking engagements. They might say, hey, come and talk to us about it. Dr. Voss and I, or anybody on the leadership team, we would be amenable to participating in those interviews or those speaking engagements. So if you happen to bump into something in your search that might be of interest to us, please reach out to us and let us know.
Yeah. Now, a very special request that I have, I think we may see an opportunity there, and I never figured out how to do it. I think we would have a good result if we were able to offer some sort of a sample of the program for free. So, and this is probably the most important thing that I will tell you. So sort of, mark my words, because it applies to every industry. So Facebook gives us the statistics on how long people look at our ads on average before they scroll down. And so the average for us is something like 2.5 seconds. The industry average, like the overall average time people look at the ads on Facebook, is something like 1.6 seconds as of now. Just like you, I do that too when I scroll my Facebook. When I see an ad, I just scroll. So I don't spend more than a second looking at it. And so the problem here is that if I sell a product that is familiar to others, like if I sell an online course, if I sell a book, if I sell a coffee mug, I can describe that product with one word and everybody will know what it is, like online course, 2 words. So you don't need more than half a second to read those 2 words. And once you see the ad, you know what it is. And if you're interested in online courses, you will keep reading, you will do the research, you will click on the link, you will follow it to the website, and you will read more about it. And if you're not interested, you just scroll through and you don't read it. With the X-Culture, as you can imagine, it's a very unique product. It's not something I can describe in one word. I mean, it's not an online course. It's not a book. It's not a, I don't know, school, private school. It's not a, I don't even know what else would fall into this category. It's a project that it needs at least 30 seconds for me to explain what it is. I need to explain that we will take kids from all around the planet. We will put them in global virtual teams. There will be 7 people per team, each one from a different country. They will work on a real challenge from a real company. And in the process, they will experience the challenges and learn the best practices of international collaboration and international business consulting. And then obviously there will be 1,000 other questions, but I need at least those 30 seconds to explain what it is. And so when 99.9999% of our ads, because we showed them like to 20 million people, I believe last time. So, on average, people literally spend less than 2 seconds looking at those ads. I know they scroll through not because they're not interested in that. I know that that's because they have no clue what was advertised. So they saw something, they just scrolled through. And so those very few who actually did look at them, they become quite interested. And so those who actually do go to the website, we actually have very good conversion rate. So the question is, how do we figure out a way to grab the attention of those people for more like 30 seconds instead of 2 seconds, so that they understand what we are trying to advertise? And yes, if at that point they say, no, I'm not interested, perfectly fine. It's not for everyone. But the challenge is that they kind of scroll through even before they know what's being offered. And so one thing I think might help us if we were able to offer people those kind of samples. Like, for example, my kids participated in the robotics class, so they were building robots. And so it was a wonderful local program, and it offered the first class free. So my kids could go to the first class, and then by the end of that hour class, they had some little robot that was, scrolling or crawling on the table. And we were like, oh, this is cool. So all right, yeah, we want to do more of that. And then a few years ago, my also one older kid took a coding class. And so again, the first class is free. So my kid goes to the class and they teach him Scratch, I believe, the coding language. And it was so fun. Within like an hour, he coded his first game. It was a very simple game, but he coded a game and we were like, oh, this is cool. Yeah, he's definitely going to do the whole course. And so he enrolled in the whole course and did it for the whole semester. With X-Culture, we would like to offer that, but I don't know how. Like, it's not like we can put kids in teams for 1 day, for 1 hour, and then they try and then they say, oh, that's cool, I want to work with people from different countries. Like, I
But
don't
why
know what
not?
it might be. And,
Why
and
not?
yeah, and that's, by the way, a question for the whole team. So we didn't really talk about that, but I wonder, you know, you all, if you can think of something, maybe we can invite them to that, you know, cooking show. And maybe that's where they will sort of sample the product. And that's where they will like, oh, I like hanging out with people from different countries. Or maybe we'll do one of those gym classes or something else. But I thought it would be a good, you know, like really useful thing if you could come up with an idea of how we can offer that, you know, sample class so that people can try it, taste it. If they don't like it, that's perfectly fine. They'll just leave. But I think most of them will like it. And so how do we do it? That's something I don't know.
Yeah.
So
you guys, university students, figure out how we can entice, or we can whet the appetite of our future students, and then we'll make it happen. I mean, we have enough very talented academy coaches that can do something like that. So and I'm already seeing Leon and Tejas's brains like going. You know, Tejas is constantly designing projects and games for us, right? So you have the gaming mind. So, but you tell us, university students, what you think would be enticing for our academy students.
So 3 more specific requests. It's in the challenge just briefly. So entry mode, if you think we should be entering countries in a form of partnership, either with another company or maybe platform or maybe Ministry of Education or maybe some sort of, I don't know, school district, we want to know that. And then again, if you are proposing some partners, ideally do give us the names, contacts, so that we can reach out to them and talk to them. So it could be simply an idea, but if you are proposing a general idea, why don't you actually try to reach to the specific companies, agencies, platforms, and then see if they would be interested in being, you know, forming some sort of a joint venture or alliance or a partnership with Xculture. Second, grants. So again, at this time, we are kind of struggling to raise some funds to pay for our basic expenses. And it almost drives me crazy now. Everyone I talk to, they say, oh, there are grants for something like this. Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, I don't know, Fulbright. So they give out millions of dollars for things that are much less than that. And that's true. I actually saw, you know, like some sort of like a lousy initiative that involves 10 kids from different countries, and they get like $2 million to build peace and prosperity and partnerships. So we did get a bunch of awards, but we never quite explored grants. And so if there are any grants for community development, for international relationship development, for education that we might qualify for, we would definitely want to know what those funding agencies are and what those grants are. So definitely something that we would like to maybe apply for. And so we would very much appreciate any needs of that kind. And finally, pricing. So at this time, we don't know if what we charge is too much, too little. So some people said that it's way too little. So like virtual internship programs charge much more, for example. And some said that if you charge too little, people think that it's not a valuable product. So the price is sort of a signal of quality. So you should charge much more. I'm not sure about that. Likewise, the structure. So should it be like a one-time payment? Should it be some sort of a subscription? Should it be some sort of, I don't know, like a group fee or return fee? So we would really appreciate your ideas of that kind. And this is where I shut up. And then first, if you have any questions, now is the time, but anything else my team wants to say, go ahead.
Pooja, what's your question?
I don't.
She's muted, I think. Yeah.
No.
No.
Go ahead.
Sorry, I did not raise my hand. I don't have a question. I'd already submitted the question.
Oh, okay. We already
Actually, I think Tejas and Pooja has a list of questions, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we actually do. We had planned out a few questions. So if you would want, we could ask them right now.
Go ahead.
Cool.
Go ahead.
So, yes, one of my questions that I came up with was, as you mentioned, one of our, like one of the main issues we have dealt with is low rates of retention. So how have we exactly quantified the low rates of retention? And if you could like elaborate on them so that students don't make the mistake of just like assuming what low retention means for us.
So Vash, you want to take that?
Well, again, so when it comes to retention, so we have 2 sort of types of retention. One is some people that, you know, apply, but never show up. Like there are some people we never ever hear from them. So most likely it's not because we do something wrong, it's just because maybe a parent enrolled a child and the child was not interested. Or maybe a teenager enrolled himself, herself, and then got too busy at school. Or maybe an employee thought, oh, that's something I need to do for my future promotion, and then just got busy. So those, we don't know if we can do anything about them other than send maybe another reminder or so. But then we do have some people who do pass all of the tests, so they are placed on teams, and then sometime in the middle of the project, they just got busy and they drop out. So those are more problematic cases. But then again, so we're not sure if we can do something about it. Is it just expected that some people will get busy, sick, break up with boyfriend, girlfriend, cannot focus on work, or there is something we can do to keep them more engaged? So, but yes, at this time, yes, we lose out of 1,000 applications we get, we probably will have maybe 250, 300 students who actually will pass the test and complete the program.
And complete. So Tejas, the answer to that is from the time that students take the time to apply online, which is kind of lengthy, right? And it's a challenge to actually apply online, to the time that we graduate, we have about a 20% graduation rate. That's the thing, right? We lose them along the way in different stages, but.
So I have another question, like coming from a low income country, Nepal. So what are some of the measures that are being taken in order to include students from a weaker economic background?
Pujo, you were not very clear. Can you say the question again? What are?
Yeah, sure. What are some of the measures that are being taken in order to include students from a weaker economic background?
From a
Actually,
weaker.
actually, surprisingly, we get more applications from what you call weaker economies. In fact, we have to artificially limit the number of ads and applications from India because
And Pakistan.
And Pakistan too. So we get probably like, for the same budget, if the budget was exactly the same for all, regions of the world, probably 80% of all applications would come from India and Pakistan. And I'm not sure if that part of the world is so interested in education, or it's because it's, English is the official language, at least of much of education. Well, obviously in all of India, but also some parts of Pakistan. And maybe because language is not a problem, so many of them are interested. But we actually get, a huge portion of applications from India, Pakistan, more from Africa, Latin America, and lately from Europe. Interestingly, we don't really get many applications from the United States. So for the university track, almost all, not all, but about 40% of the participants are US universities. And we have to say no to many American schools because so many of them want to participate. But at the individual level, it's the opposite. So we don't know why. I don't know, different standards, different values, or something else.
And relative to that, they have also the highest dropout rate. So
that's true too. So, and here it might be the issue of price or something else. So a huge portion of, a huge number applies, but then many of them never follow up with those applications. The best retention actually is Western Europe. So not many of them apply, but almost all of them stay. And so again, we don't know why. Again, could be the monetary component, maybe something else. So,
which is a hint to you guys to help us try to get more Western European students. Hello. And American at that.
Or figure out a way to improve retention in other parts of the world.
Right.
Yeah, at this time, an application on average costs us about $4.50 or $5, over the last couple of years. But one from India cost us something like 6 cents, and one from Western Europe cost us more like like $16 or something like that. But because the retention rate is so much higher from Europe, even though they cost us many times more to acquire, we still make more return on investment from that group than, for example, on India. So,
and going back to the project, there might be a pricing strategy that could be implemented with higher income countries. So for example, if it costs us more to attract the European student, is it then possible to charge a different price for European students? Because one, we know that it costs us more to get them, and two, we know that we'll retain them, right? Because once they register, they usually finish.
Perfect.
All right, so I'm not sure how, so we can stay a little longer, and I really would like Leon, Tejas, Rafael, Annette to talk a little bit more about what they do. But I think it would be best if I leave at this time and let them talk about it. But before I do, so anyone from the audience, do you guys have any questions? So we have about 100 people watching us at this time. So if you have any questions, now is a good time to ask in the Q&A. So usually, as I say, if there are no questions, it's either everything's clear, kudos to us, we explained it so well, or nothing's clear. You guys are confused and you have no idea like what.
Right,
So I'm not
right.
sure which one of the two it is. So I hope it's
Right.
everything's clear.
So
hey,
what we're going to do now is
sorry.
so both Dr. Voss and myself, we're actually working. I'm going to leave as well. So we're going to leave you. So Voss, if you can make Raphael the host
Yes.
with our leadership. So
I actually have another meeting also with Wendy.
Yeah,
Okay.
I think we all have a meeting with Wendy about Moodle. So
Yeah,
or most of
okay.
us. So, but in any case, it seems like there are no questions from the audience. There is one, I think. If we have some ideas about how promoting X culture, we can share you with them. But yes, you can send us by email. We will have several of these live webinars throughout the project where you can share them with us. And so definitely, do let us know. We will be always available to discuss it.
And again, Ava, if you know, or if anybody out there have an opportunity for us to do like a presentation or a guest speaking engagement or an interview, reach out to us right away. Reach out to Raphael. Raphael, put out your email in the chat so that everybody has it.
Academy@xculture.org. So Academy.
Okay.
Now,
And
there is a question from a anonymous at ND. Have you tried jingles? No, we haven't, but if you are musically inclined and you can help us produce one, we can maybe even, reward you in some way for your work, but no, we never had, nobody.
Post it on TikTok, please.
Yeah,
because
so maybe we should do some jingles.
TikTok works for us.
So yes, that's a good idea. No, we haven't tried, and maybe that's the secret to our, recruitment success.
Yeah. Or maybe get a rap star to come and do a jingle for us. That would be good too.
Some students, come up either with the text or with the music or both, or especially if you can kind of create that jingle, maybe we can try it. So I don't know.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Well, then let's stop
so
here. It seems like we've answered all of the questions. So I guess we want to stop here and then move to the next meeting then.
Yeah. Peace and love.
Yeah, thank you. And Annette, Leon, Pooja, Tejas, Raphael, sorry we didn't let you talk much today. So we invited you, but yes, there were very specific things that I needed to cover.
Actually, schedule us for a second follow-up webinar and we'll give most of the talk.
At that time, we can talk about the specifics.
Yeah, so whenever that's scheduled, okay? Thank you, you guys. See you Saturday.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.